3 races to go then. Hello everyone and welcome back guys to round 20 of season 3 of our F1 2020 My Team career mode, where today we're here back for the Mexican Grand Prix. Now obviously if you missed out on the US Grand Prix that went live on Saturday, definitely want to go back and check that one out. It was quite an important race for the championship battle between myself and George Russell. There will be spoilers in just a moment, so if you don't want any of those, make sure you do click off and click back on that video so you don't miss out on any of the action. But yeah, 3 races to go then, and we could be world champion here today. After George Russell's unfortunate engine failure in the US Grand Prix, we've now got a 41-point lead over our teammate. So if we won and got fastest lap, and George Russell came lower than second, that's it. Game over. We'd have a 52-point lead, and I think mathematically George wouldn't be able to get enough wins back. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to George's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh no, he's got 9 as well. So we need to win, and George needs to come 4th or worse, which is, I'll be honest, not the most likely of scenarios based on the amount of 1-2s we've had over the course of the year there. But also because of that engine failure last time out, we are going to actually get all of the durability upgrades sorted, ready for Season 4. I just don't want to be left stranded in that sort of situation again, where potentially the car does have some aero issues, or sorry, not aero issues, reliability issues in the final stages of the season there. So we're going to quickly get all of these parts sorted, ready for the new year there. It is going to cost us a good sort of few thousand R&D points, but worth it in the long run here. So you can see now we're back down to about 3,300 R&D points there. So we've spent another 3,300 this weekend, but those should be all sorted. Just looking at it, there's still a long way to go with the car if we want it to be sorted, ready for Season 4 here. We're going to adapt a few more parts on both the aero and the chassis side of things as well. They're just trying to go for all the major upgrades as best as possible at the moment. So we've got another 3 aero upgrades sorted. Hopefully we'll be able to get another 3 chassis upgrades sorted as well. 600, so we've got 200 points to go. I don't think we're going to be able to get anything else done before we dive into this weekend there. But yeah, we've still got a lot of upgrades then that need to be done ready for Season 4. But anyway, let's dive in then here for the Mexican Grand Prix. Going into free practice then for the Mexican Grand Prix. I'll be honest, one thing that I have been a little bit worried about ready for the driver vote for Season 4, which will be closing by the time the next Grand Prix comes out. So if you haven't voted yet on who you want to be our teammate for Season 4, there is a poll over on the community hub on this channel, so definitely let your voice be heard over there as well. Obviously, like I said, that will be closing when the Brazilian Grand Prix video does come out. But yeah, rather surprised actually that we've still had no news of any driver retirements in this series there, in Season 3, sorry, I should specify. Obviously, we've already had George Russell and Sebastian Vettel confirm that they are no longer taking part in Formula 1, but the likes of Kimi Räikkönen, maybe we'll see Hamilton retire soon as well. Perhaps if we do end up with him, which is looking highly likely at the moment, based on the driver vote. He might spend his last couple of years in Formula 1 racing for 212 Motorsports. But anyway, yeah, just a bit surprised by that at the moment. Make sure you go vote on the poll. Let's try and get some purple scores. To the tyre wear run then, we were able to get the purple score on the track acclimatization lap there, as we actually pick up a warning towards the end of this run. But I was doing a little bit of a look back at last season's Grand Prix here. Obviously this was the race where we managed to go from 22nd to the race victory there. The first and only time ever in Formula 1 that a last first has been completed. So that's a good omen heading into this year. Obviously George Russell is way better than he used to be, but it's another purple score. Last but not least then, it is qualifying simulation time. We should have very good straight line speed in the car. But yeah, I'll be honest, we might have to go for a couple of reliability changes on the power side of things. We are definitely running a very worn out engine, and to be honest, don't need to risk anything in the races, but we can afford to drop a few places in a qualifying session here. You know, there's no point not at the moment. We saw what happened to George Russell last time out. We got a nice hefty advantage over him, so even if, say, we had a bit of a poor race and only came P3, P4 nonetheless, still would be better than facing an engine retirement and losing out 25 points in a Grand Prix. So we do have to be smart. We do still have to think about this with 3 races to go. So when we get back to the garage, that's not ideal either. Yeah, we are probably going to change some parts. Coming out of the final corner then to finish off our second attempt. That one is definitely going to be good enough. We get the purple score. Not often do we do that on the qualifying sim runs. That is a good omen. So, back at the base then, just looking at the car reliability at the moment, I think the only major ones that we've got that are very, very badly worn are, of course, the energy store. Yeah, everything else, the ICE is a little bit on the high side, but MGU-K and MGU-H are absolutely fine. So we're going to have to go with an energy store, third one on the car. Not too sure how many places worth of grid pens that'll give us ready for the race. But everything else seems to be okay at the moment, so we might be able to get to the end of the season with just that one penalty on the car. Let's dive in then here for qualifying. So here we are then in qualifying for the Mexican Grand Prix, straight out as always in Q2, and as always on a set of the medium compounded tyres to try and get through into Q3. Pace does feel rather good this weekend. That new energy store though has given us a 10-place grid drop, so at the very best we're going to be starting in the mid-pack here at the Mexican Grand Prix qualifying, on the grid sorry even I should say, but straight line speed seems to be a lot better than even George is running, so clearly we've taken our setups just a little bit of a different way. He knows we got a 10-second penalty, so we need to overtake cars. He should be comfortable out front though, so he may as well just focus on a little bit more aero, just try and keep the car in good nick throughout the entirety of the Grand Prix as we try to put the power down into Sector 2. It's been a sloppy opening sector to the lap. Daniel Ricciardo currently has set the time to beat, hopefully though, as we head into the S's, as we run a little bit wide on the entry there, picking up another warning. Seems to be track limits rather strict this weekend as we just try and get the car rotated through all of those corners. We're still comfortably up on the time it's currently set by Carlos Sainz in P2. People are going faster and faster though, but hopefully this lap should still be enough, running a little bit wide in the stadium section there as we try to get the power down out of the final corner. Another big kick of oversteer. It's going to be a 12.5. That still should be good enough to get us through into Q3 quite comfortably. So Q2 then done and dusted. You can see George Russell fastest in the end there on a 1:11.9. Hamilton P2 on a 12.4, just ahead of myself there as we're the only man to get through into Q3 on the set of the medium compounded tyres there. So yeah, pace feeling rather good around this circuit at the moment. Hopefully we can keep it tidy in Q3 and stick it on what would have been pole position. Here we go then, ready for our first run in Q3 around this Mexican Grand Prix circuit. We are going to get 2 stabs at this over the course of this session, so hopefully we can get a good banker lap in on the first run here. We're going to be aiming for probably a mid-11 if we want to be trying to get pole position here. George Russell seems to be getting quicker and quicker with each and every session over the course of this weekend so far. A nice clear view ahead of us as we head down towards turn 1, well over 220 miles an hour into this first corner without slipstream. Slam on the anchors at the 100-metre board as we try to get the car rotated through the first couple of corners. Ride the curbing through turn 2 and turn 3, running very, very wide on the exit, but we just about keep the inside wheels on that outside curb. And we just, yeah, about hold on as we head now down into Sector 2. Brake once again at the 100-metre board here. This sector just feels like you're crawling around. Had to really, really be late on the throttle on the X there, otherwise you will get wheel spin. The same can be said for that turn as well there. Just brake after the black box on the outside. Not particularly good way to get the front end in, but we have got it in the end there as we try to dance through the S's, running a little bit wide. They're actually picking up another warning for track limits, but so far this lap has been pretty decent as we head into Sector 3. Try and get the front end rotated in through the stadium. Drivers always say you can hear the crowd celebrating through there on lap 1 despite the sound of the engines. Up towards the finish line though. Where on earth has that come from? An 11.1? I will take it rather happily. Holy moly. Getting ready then for our final run in qualifying here for the Mexican Grand Prix. And the question now is, could we set a 1:10 at the end of the day here? Our teammate George Russell currently only just 3/10 back, so he has found a lot more time in Sector 3. Either that or, sorry, in Q3 even, sorry I should say. Either that or the track has got a bit quicker as well here. But hopefully, yeah, we can try and sneak down in towards the 1 minute 10s. A little bit tentative on the brakes through turn 1. Ride the curb in nicely through turn 2 and turn 3 once again. A little bit better traction on the exit that time round, but still a 10th down at the end of Sector 1 there as we now dive it down in towards this tight, twisty technical section. Oh, just a huge slab of oversteer on the exit. And then we can't get the car rotated through the next corner there as well. It seems like the slap is already out the window, as we made a whole host of mistakes at the start of Sector 2, but we may as well keep at it. Might as well see if we can clutch up something coming down in towards the end of Sector 2. We're still 3/10ths down at the moment. Are we going to see George Russell improve over our previous lap? Bottling our final run in Q3 seems to be a common occurrence at the moment there, as we take a bit too much curb on through the hairpin. Try and get the car rotated down in towards the final corner, up towards the line. We're going to find a tiny bit at the end there, but it is still good enough for pole position there. There was definitely a 1 minute 10 on the table though, but pole position will start P11 then here for the Mexican Grand Prix, unless of course others have got penalties.
We're all ready for tomorrow's race, but before we begin, let's have a quick look at those who will be fronting the grid. Mr. Monaco, Russell and Lewis Hamilton. Goodbye for now then, but we're really just getting started. Make sure to join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
So there we are then, qualifying done and dusted for the Mexican Grand Prix, and it is a 1-2 as always for the team there. 3/10ths ahead of our teammate George Russell, but Hamilton in that Mercedes once again seems to just be a little bit closer to the front runners there. It seems like Ferrari are on the pace this weekend with the nature of this track, and Red Bull really struggling a bit further down there. But Ocon and Gasly both inside the top 10 as well. Let's dive in then here. Round 20 of the season. We could be champions today. It's time for the Mexican Grand Prix.
Here we go then. It's time to race in Mexico City, a place which gave Honda their first ever victory back in 1965. American Richie Ginther won from third on the grid. And what are the Honda-powered cars this year? Well, Red Bull have been going strong here in recent seasons, so can they keep that record going today? At 2,285 metres above sea level, the thin air of the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez poses a unique challenge, not just to a driver's skill, but to the efficiency of their engines as well. 17 corners make up a lap of this 2.6-mile circuit, and you can expect incredible speeds in excess of 220 miles per hour, and overtaking too into the hard braking zones of turns 1 and turn 4. Anthony Davidson is here once again for today's Grand Prix. Let's talk about Mr. Monaco. That was a great win in the last race. Can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
It's always nice to come into a Grand Prix weekend on a high, but your expectations are based much more on your practice and qualifying runs. So it's the momentum from those sessions that they'll be hoping to carry into the race today.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. George Russell will begin today's event from pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Verstappen, Valtteri Bottas, and Albon, Ricciardo, Ocon, Gasly, and Lando Norris. Mr. Monaco, Sainz, Sergio Perez, and Raikkonen, Kvyat, Stroll, Jordan King, and Nobuharu Matsushita. Giovinazzi, De Vries, Latifi, and Kevin Magnussen fills the last spot on the grid. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
Jeff here, radio check. Check, can you hear me? Okay, we had a fantastic result at the last race. Let's try it again here.
Finally, Jeff is giving us some goals that we might just struggle to achieve on F1 2020 here. We aim to try and just damage limitation, I think is probably the best way to word it this weekend. It's going to be a long old race ahead of us. It's going to be a tough old race as well here. But the team recommending the the two-stop strategy even, I should say. We'll see how well the mediums and softs last. We might be able to try and get those softs to the end of the Grand Prix here. But yeah, rather looking forward then to the Mexican Grand Prix. It does provide some good racing in this series as well, so hopefully we can keep it clean and tidy on the run down towards turn 1 and see where we end up. Like I said, we could mathematically be champions here today, but to be honest, we'll probably just be looking to set ourselves up to try and win it next time out in Brazil there. It might be the first time ever in this career mode, in this whole series, where we haven't had a championship decider go down to Abu Dhabi. But we're ready then on the grid. Round 20 of the season here from the Mexican Grand Prix. 36 laps ahead of us. We need a good, clean start. We need a front wing at the end of that one. 5 red lights. And it's a lights out and away. We don't really go there. A horrible start as we try to get the power down. Wheels spinning still in 3rd gear, but everyone is just going to bunch up as we head down towards turn 1. It's been a horrible start for ourselves. You can see a whole host of cars on the inside of us as we head down in towards the first corner. Gasly, nice and late on the brakes just in front, so we might be able to get our nose around a couple of people as we head through the next couple of corners there. But one of the McLarens just moving across us there. Somehow we get the run on the exit of the corner there on Lando Norris. He's going to try and come back around the outside as we head down in towards Sector 2. But I think we have now moved up 1 spot off the start of this Grand Prix there. So a good little getaway for ourselves. Back up into the top 10 here off the start. But you can already see Hamilton and our teammate romping away at the front of the field there as Gasly and Ocon almost trip over each other as we head through the S's there. We try and have a look at the inside of Gasly. Lando out of nowhere tries to have a look around the outside of ourselves. Everyone is trying to make big gains at the start of this race there, but as we head now down into Sector 3, this has been a rather interesting start in the end. Everyone appearing to be rather feisty around the outside of Gasly through the hairpin there. Not too sure how he hooked up that one, but we're up another place then before the end of lap 1. But yeah, George Russell, rather unsurprisingly, leads the way at the end of the first lap there. Hamilton still in P2, applying the pressure as there's a big gap back down to the Ferraris and Bottas as well as the Red Bulls there. Let's see then, Ocon next car in front. Let's try and get round him. Coming to the end of lap 2 then, all over the back of the Frenchman in his Renault. Hopefully we can try and get a good run down the start-finish straight. There is still George Russell's pulled out another 2.5 seconds on that lap over ourselves. Just the nature of the slower traffic in the way at the moment there. But we're making some good gains on Ocon, but nowhere near enough as we head back down in towards turn 1. Hopefully DRS will now help us out there as we head through the first chicane. Try to get the power down on the exit. Now can we get a bit of a run on the Renault man? We seem to have got a bit of a better slingshot this time round to the inside of Esteban Ocon. He locks up in a panic moment, but he does get the car slowed down in towards the corner. We'll try and hook it up right around the outside, all over the white lines. But we make the move work, and we're up into 8th. Next up, Albon. Here we go then, on to lap 4. We have found another second on our previous lap, but now we've got the DRS. And I mean, Red Bull aren't exactly renowned for being the fastest car anyway. Straight past Albon like he's not even there on the run back down towards turn 1. We're going to be miles ahead of him as we head in towards the first corner. But we have got to remember, we are on the medium compounded tyre as well, relative to all these guys on the softs. So we shouldn't be too worried that we're not absolutely just slicing and dicing past. Anyway, next up then, Danny Rick. Well, a good run actually out of the S's on Danny Rick. Might be able to have a look around the outside as we head into the stadium section. There we go. I passed both Red Bulls in 1 lap then. That just goes to show just how poor the Red Bull straight line speed is. You wouldn't normally think of that little DRS straight as an overtaking opportunity, but we pulled it off. Next up then, Maxi Boy Verstappen, sat in P5 at the moment as we're still finding time lap after lap. And now, look at how big of a gap George has at the front. On to lap 6 already, a 1/6 of the way into this Grand Prix. It won't be long now before the first guys are diving into the pits, but we've got a good run on Max Verstappen, 223 miles an hour. I'd still probably say Ferrari are the second quickest car down the straight. As look at that, Verstappen. Always got that fighting spirit, tries to get the nose back up the inside, but we do move ourselves up into 5th, as there's a bit of a ding-dong going on between Charles Leclerc and Valtteri Bottas, just in front of us as well. Oh, Bottas getting a bit squirrely out of the final corner. We can't say much though, as we get a lot of oversteer out of the final turn as well then. On the run, back down towards turn 1, let's just see. We should be able to get a run on him. 224 miles an hour. Down in towards the first corner. Late on the brakes as always, but again, Bottas trying to keep the nose up the inside, but plenty of room to slot now up into P4. We don't get a particularly good run on the exit. We sit on the apex as Bottas tried to get the traction out, but back up into 4th place. Oh, Charles Leclerc there, instantly getting squirrely. that was a bit appalling from myself. That's going to cause him a lot of concertina in there as Bottas gets back around the outside. Yeah, it was a bit of a day-late dollar short style move there from myself, but we're back down then into 5th place in the Grand Prix. Opportunistic, but we don't need to be taking risks like that at the moment. We need to just keep bringing out points and getting a good result here as Bottas now going to try and look up the inside of Charles Leclerc. Everyone just concertinaing up there as we try to put the power down on the exit. We think about having a look around the outside. Verstappen there, I think, just making a bit of contact with us as well. It's all getting feisty as everyone nears the pit window here. Everyone just wants to have that extra attack position to try and get around each other. But anyway, back down towards turn 1 then. George Rossi has a 16-second lead. How on earth has he managed that in just 8 laps in this race? There, everyone closing in on each other as we head back down in towards turn 1. Charles Leclerc locks up. We're going to be 3 wide through the first couple of corners there, but we do hold on, and we now move ourselves up into P3 of the Grand Prix. That was all a bit exciting for a lap or so. But yeah, back up now into 3rd place. Hamilton, 6 seconds up the road though. I don't think we'll close up to him before the pit window opens for those guys. Guess the other good thing now, of course, is the fact we can monitor the gap to George Russell lap after lap. We've already taken a second out of Lewis though, so I'm definitely intrigued to see when all these guys dive in to the pit lane at the end of this stint. I think it's a couple more laps away now, but can't be long. There we go, first couple of guys into the pit lane. As you can see on the mini-map, that's Bottas and I think Daniel Ricciardo into the pits very, very early then still in this race. It is a rather tough track on tyres. You sort of forget, with all the straights at the start of the lap, just how complex the rest of the lap really is around here. It really is just a track of 2 halves as well there. But yeah, the gap to Hamilton actually coming down a lot more drastically than I originally thought. Clearly those softs just about hitting the cliff, as that's not the line through there. Oh, end of lap 10. George Russell into the pits. Are we going to see Hamilton in at the same time as well here? Obviously, we are definitely not going to pit just yet in this Grand Prix. Yeah, Hamilton comes in as well then. So as long as we stay out ahead of George, we won't have any dirty air at the moment still in this Grand Prix. Almost setting a new PB of the race despite these tyres slowly, definitely starting to fall off the edge just a little bit there. But yeah, Verstappen though is not even going to be ahead of George Russell here. So we basically have a pit stop margin over pretty much everyone else in this Grand Prix, aside from myself and Lewis Hamilton. But now we've got a 5-second lead as George actually on another set of softs. So clearly the AI want to go aggressive on a 2-stop strategy here. We are going to see if we can pull off the 1 stop, but it's not really sort of set in stone at the moment. Oh, there we go. George Russell, new fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Someone's got issues as well further down the field. Don't say that's George Russell again with issues there. I actually missed who Jeff was saying over the radio, so we'll have to monitor the gap to our teammate George after retirement last time out. As soon as he was closing up to us, I'm pretty certain it's George here that's got problems in this Grand Prix? Maybe. I don't know, to be honest, for sure. But I can confirm then, coming to the end of lap 13, is George Russell with a mechanical issue here. He's not really losing out too much time to us, just in the nature of how fast he is on those fresh set of the soft compounded tyres there. But George has got no luck in this series at the moment. A retirement last time out. Even more reliability woes now. Has he just been pushing his engines too much every single time this series? And has he really just sort of fizzled out right before the season ends? So the team want us in then at the end of this lap, but we've just improved on our personal best at the moment, so I'm a bit in 2 minds as to what we do in terms of the race strategy here. I might try and take these mediums a couple of laps longer here, see if we can get to about lap 22, then I do genuinely believe we could get the softs to the end of the Grand Prix. They are looking rather worn out though at the moment, but just that issue for George Russell seems to have just opened it up a little bit more for us. Had he not been having issues, he would have flown past us again, and then we probably would have just tried to gamble it and stay out for as long as possible. But now he's got those issues, I'm just starting to wonder whether actually we can be quick enough to close up the gap again before the end of this race. And I can safely confirm, after being sat in some dirty air behind Nick de Vries for about 4 corners, we are definitely going to be doing the 2-stop still in this Grand Prix here. Make sure we get the car slowed down nice and tidily. Just about in. So yeah, George Russell then is going to re-inherit the lead of the Grand Prix, but we've now both got one more stop to go before the end of this race, so he's pretty much got a pit stop margin over us with half the race distance left to go here from this Grand Prix, but we should have a quicker car pretty much from now until the checkered flag here, so let's try and see if we can hunt down our teammate George Russell here. Luckily as well, we're going to stay out ahead of Lewis Hamilton in this Grand Prix. That was another thing that I was a bit worried about. We got stuck behind him in the S's. Now, let's push. First flying lap then on these soft compounded tyres. They are feeling grippy as we head out the final corner. A 1:12.6. We've taken about 3 seconds out of our teammate George Russell on that lap alone there. You can see the gap now to George is closer than the gap to Hamilton behind us once again in this Grand Prix. But we've got to try and take as much time out of him as we can, obviously, before he dives back in and hopefully gets those reliability issues fixed. So he's probably going to be in maybe in the next sort of 3 laps or so, if I'm not mistaken. So we're trying to take as much time out of him as we possibly can, obviously, before then. But this could be a mega hunt to the end of this Grand Prix. Oh, there we go. George Russell into the pits at the end of lap 21. So he's now going to the end of this race here. But we do still need to be careful, actually. We have to still burn through a lot of fuel in this Grand Prix. ERS and fuel management, normally we don't have to worry about it whatsoever at the moment. With just the nature of these long straights, though, we have had to think about it still in this Grand Prix. I think the ERS has actually spent some time not at 100%, which is rather insane when you think about it in this series. I'll be honest, it hasn't helped me in league racing, just how good this car is on its ERS and everything like that, because then I get way too happy to use it in real races as well. But anyway, we've got 14 laps to go. George is now going to the checkered flag. He has got no one in his way, so he's got a plain sailing road to the finish. Hopefully, though, we can close up to him again once we make our final stop in about 6 or 7 laps' time and see if we can win this still. What on earth is Nick de Vries doing there, mate? Come on, we don't need any front wing damage now in this Grand Prix. The Haas are going to go side by side behind us. We'll leave them to dispute last place. Really, that has been a tough weekend for the US-based team as we head through the S's. Yeah, they're a long way back, actually, behind the likes of the Williams and, oddly enough, a Renault. Not too sure what's happened there. Oh my god, Latifi! What on earth is that, mate? Latifi's just put me in the wall through the final corner there. No idea why he didn't bail out of that one, but we're probably going to have to pit even earlier now. Probably the end of this one. And try to get a front wing change and close back up the gap then to our teammate George Russell there. Latifi, we've had so many issues with some lap traffic later on in this Grand Prix. Yeah, that damage is certainly not going to be good to the checkered flag here. George Russell's already taken a couple of seconds out of us as well after pitting onto those medium compounded tyres, so that is not ideal. With just 12 laps to go of this Grand Prix, we're going to pit the end of this one, and hopefully now we'll see what the damage is and see if we can close up that gap before the checkered flag.
Okay, take it easy on the car. We can't sustain this level of damage.
We got yellow flags out as well. Who's struggling, I think, is one of the Mercedes. Appears to be out then of this Mexican Grand Prix. Are we going to get a safety car? Yes, we are. No, we're not. It's a virtual safety car. So that is still helpful for us, though. We're going to pit in the end of this one. And how many times will we get lucky with that sort of thing before the end of this season there? It's going to allow us as well to save a little bit more fuel. So we try to get the car slowed down nice and tidily. George Russell still should be up in the lead of this Grand Prix, but it is going to help us be a little bit closer before the end of this race. And at the final corner, our teammate comes. I forgot about the front wing change, so we are still going to be a fair way back when we go green once again. There we go, VSC coming to an end. Really long hold by the team, 9.5 seconds as well there. That's certainly not helped us out, but it is green flag racing once again then here from the Mexico Grand Prix. The gap to George Russell up the road, about 13 seconds. 10 laps to go. This might be an absolute mission if we want to close this down. 8 laps to go then. It's another new fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Another 1:12.6 there, but this could be an absolute battle for the ages to the end of this Grand Prix. We've taken out about 3 seconds, 3.5 seconds in the last 2 laps, so it could come down to the wire here However, I'm very worried as well, very conscious of the fact that these tyres could hit the cliff with just a couple of laps to go here, and then George Russell might still be safe. Is De Vries going to get out of the way this time? Yes, he does. Go another second taken out of our teammate George Russell, as we're going to get helped a bit with some DRS from Nobuharu Matsushita. I've still got to be a bit careful of the fuel though. We are pretty close to even, but we still definitely don't have a lot that we can run around in rich revs just yet. Let's just see if this gap keeps coming down. Jordan King then, so we have now got a few laps without some lap traffic between now and the end of the Grand Prix. 6 to go, a gap 5 seconds between myself and George Russell, but these tyres, we are pushing them to the absolute limits. Will they make 10 laps to the checkered flag? Or from, obviously, when we pit? Only one way to find out. Lap 32, we're just going to get held up a bit behind Kvyat here. As we head... Oh, look at that. Danny Kvyat. Just a little bit in the way as we head into Sector 2. And yeah, this is really what's going to make the difference in the latter stages of this race, is just when we both catch up to lap cars here. You can see we've got another AlphaTauri of Pierre Gasly, who's just going to give us a little bit of dirty air as we sit further back. But yeah, 4 laps to go. The gap just under 3 seconds. This could come down to the absolute wire. As you can just see now, Gasly and one of the... That's Raikkonen in the Renault. Just now in front of us. So now George's might be able to go clean to the end of this race. Meanwhile, we're actually going to get some DRS, hopefully, off Pierre Gasly there. So that's rather handy. But those two still battling it out for P13 in this race there. Gasly does now bail out, so thank you very much to him. But we're still running a little bit low on fuel. Hopefully we can recover that. As Gasly, oh, what on earth are you doing there, mate? Don't stick the nose at the inside. Please do not pull that sort of thing off with 4 laps to go of this Grand Prix here. Hopefully Raikkonen will do the same now. Yes, he does. Much better awareness from the man that spent over 20 years now in Formula 1 in this storyline. But anyway, 2 seconds now the gap to George Russell, but these tyres definitely aren't what they once were. 3 laps to go. You can see George Russell now all over the back of Alex Albon and Lance Stroll here. They're all just sat in the way. There is Albon. Please do not rejoin in front of me in that moment there. Stroll tries to get out of the way as well. I don't think he's going to do the same for us though. So we're going to have to sit behind the racing point as we head through the middle sector here. This is not what we need. You can just see the gap comes back down. And then just like that, the gap opens back up again between myself and George Russell here. We get a good run in the end. No issues with tyre wear, the team is saying, but 2 laps to go. And the gap's still hovering at just over that 1 second mark. If we can get some DRS, there's an opportunity. Oh, yellow flag's out further behind as well. Who's dropping to the wayside? It is Kimi Raikkonen then out of this Grand Prix there. So just after I was complimenting him for all his years in the sport, Kimi Raikkonen out of the Grand Prix with just 2 laps to go then here from Mexico. George, though, still hovering at over a second ahead, but we're going to have more lap traffic to deal with before the end. Coming down in towards the stadium then for the penultimate time in this Grand Prix. You can just see now how many cars both myself and George Russell have got to try and get round with 1 lap to go then in this race. There can be no slip-ups from either of us. We've got to try and get around all of these cars as best as possible. There's yellow flags out as well on the run down towards turn 1, so neither of us are going to be able to do anything. Ricciardo just gets in the way. We can't overtake him until we get back into the green flags. Ricciardo sticks the nose at the inside and we completely spin him. No idea what the Australian was trying to do there with the nose up the inside on the exit, but it's cost us time to our teammate George Russell here. You can see one of the McLarens gets out of the way as we head up in towards Sector 2 here. Hopefully Carlos Sainz will do the same for ourselves as we try to get the power down in towards the S's here. Sainz gets out of the way. Ocon gets out of the way, though, of George Russell here. This feels like a multi-class race at the moment. Just everyone in the way of both myself and George Russell there. A bit of a wobble as we head through the S's one final time in this race there. We get a good run on the exit there. Ocon's going to get out of the way, but look at that. Who's that? Perez. Homeboy just in the way of us as we head in towards the final few corners of this racer. And you can see Perez, he's not getting out of the way for us. He finally does with just 1 corner to go then. George Russell, it all got tense at the end there, but he does hold on. Win number 10 of the season for our teammate, but it's only P2 for ourselves.
That's a podium. excellent drive. The team have worked especially hard this weekend, and this is a fantastic reward.
Not just victory today then, but the championship as well. What a spectacular season they've had. Congratulations to the whole team. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we can talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those we witnessed today.
A show-stopping performance from the three drivers approaching the podium right now. It's been an interesting Grand Prix, that's for sure. And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. Mr. Monaco increases their championship lead. Let's focus on the driver of the day. Anthony Davidson, who do you pick?
I have to give it to Mr. Monaco. There was a lot going on all down the field, but they were the only one who I really felt maximised their potential.
And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
So there we are then, guys, the end of the Mexican Grand Prix. There are only 6 cars finishing on the lead lap, but it was a very, very close battle between myself and George Russell at the end there. Like I said, it was almost like multi-class racing, just both of us trying to weave through the traffic in those final couple of laps there. But let's be fair, reliability issues as well. George Russell certainly did deserve that race victory, but he did get very, very lucky with that late race safety car. But had the TV not put us in a wall, perhaps it would have been a different story there when all is said and done. But it's another one too. We get the fastest lap bonus point as well, so the gap should be just down to 35 points as we get ready for the Brazilian Grand Prix next time out. Hamilton does come home for P3 ahead of the Ferraris and Lando Norris there. Homeboy Perez picks up 6 points ahead of Ocon, Sainz, Albon, rounding out the top 10 there ahead of Stroll and Ricciardo there. Red Bull really having a torrid day out in the end, 10th and 12th there, just ahead of both of the AlphaTauris as well. Then no other major surprises. Raikkonen technically classified 3 laps down. Bottas, the one man not to make it to the checkered flag there. Not a good day for the Finns. But Drivers' Championship-wise, yep, that gap 35 points then. So we could wrap it up next time out in the Brazilian Grand Prix. All we need is P3. As long as George... No, even if George does get fastest lap, the gap would still be 26 points. So yeah, we need P3 without George getting fastest lap. If George does get fastest lap, then we need P2 in that Grand Prix there. But yeah, lap will be decided next time out then in the Brazilian Grand Prix, unless of course it does go down to the decider in Abu Dhabi there. Hamilton still P3 though, best of the rest ahead of Verstappen, Bottas and Charles Leclerc there, but Albon still ahead of Ocon and Daniel Ricciardo rounding out in 9th place there. Constructors-wise, though, 813 points. We could theoretically get we could get 901 points this season. I would rather quite like to achieve that, I'll be honest. That'd be quite historic in a single season of Formula 1, but it will require 2 more flawless Grand Prix weekends in terms of the 44 points when all is said and done there. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, do make sure you get yourself subscribed. And yeah, we will be back very, very soon for what could be the title decider where we head to Brazil. You guys do not want to miss it. A big thank you to our channel members for making these videos possible. You can be featured in these end clips as well as granted access to some other exclusive perks for just £1 a month by clicking the join button below.